Hey there, it's Nikki for Live Vibrantly. This is a slightly longer video because I really want to share something which is a really good illustration for when I talk about living in the fifth dimension. I know that sounds a little strange, but it literally means living in a different energy, living from a higher perspective, right? So we've moved from the third dimension, which really can be summed up as only thinking of ourselves, looking after ourselves first. And then if we've got time, resources, money, whatever, looking after everyone else. Whereas we then moved, and this all started in 2012, but we then moved to the fourth dimension, which is a transition dimension. And now many of you are actually already in the fifth dimension. And I will talk about, in my separate work, I'll talk about chakras and different things, because it's very, very timely now to be energizing all these things. But that's not the reason why I wanted to check in with you, because I wanted to share something. I was going to the hospital, and it was absolutely belting down with rain. We've had almost like a drought here in Malaysia, and with no rain at all, which means that so many people are struggling, right? They're really struggling, because that's the one thing we cannot do without is water. We cannot do without water. We can go without food for quite a long time, but water, no, it's really difficult. So they have been, I think, seeding the clouds, which sounds awful, but I don't think is a bad thing. But in any rate, it's been raining a lot, and I had to go to the hospital. Now, the hospital is about 45 minutes drive from me on a good day. It can be anything up to 2 hours on a bad day. And hospitals are like my dreaded zone, right? Not because it's a hospital and whatever I'm going to have done there or whatever's going to face me there. It's because it's just so energy draining for empaths like me. And I know some of you are empaths as well, so you know exactly what I mean. And anyway, the traffic was absolutely crazy. People do not know how to drive here in the rain. It's just everyone is suddenly in a car, and tempers are high. You know what I mean? Like it's not as bad as road rage. It's not as bad as some other places in the world, I'm sure, but you can feel it. As an energetic, I can feel the energy. Anyway, there I was driving down to the hospital, and it suddenly came into what should be 3 lanes, but ended up as 6 lanes, because people tend to kind of form their own lanes here. And I was struck by, and it was actually really hairy. It was difficult to navigate, and driving in any Asian country is really difficult because you have motorbikes flying around and cars are doing different things. They're zigzagging, and I live in a place that is quite touristy, so we often have people coming in that don't know the roads, and it was just really hairy. Like, you really had to be an experienced driver, I think, to get on the road on that particular day. And the rain was, even the window wipers weren't even coping with it. It was crazy. So I was coming down, coming over the flyover, and I was struck by this car in front of me. And I just saw in the mirror, there was this lady in there, and I really felt her. I felt her. I don't know why I felt her, I just happened to feel her, but it was, she was nervous, and she reached for her mala. So many of you probably have these, but this is a mala, okay? You use it for meditation. And she was in the mirror, and she was like this, and I could see her, and she was going through this, and she was really, really nervous. I could see that she was nervous. Everything she was displaying to me, she was really nervous, right? So this is where, in the third dimension, this is what I really wanted to highlight to you. So in the third dimension, I could be thinking, right, I need to be safe. I need to make sure that, you know, everything is fine around me. And yes, you do need that. Obviously, you're not going to put yourself in danger. But there was a woman who was in front of me that I knew was struggling. And I knew because she was frantically going through this with her mala. And while she was driving, right? Most people don't do that. So she's really, really nervous. And there was nowhere for her to go. She couldn't pull over to the side of the road. So this is where we enter the fifth dimension. This is where we enter our higher selves, okay? Even if you don't work with energy or you don't know what to do, it's not rocket science, okay? All you do is you just surround, well, I surrounded her in grounding energy. I called her guardian angel in, and I just said, I call in this lady's guardian angel under grace. If you add the words under grace, then you will always ensure that you're not interfering. We cannot interfere with someone else's karma. We can't, okay? But if you say under grace, then they will mobilize either exactly as you've instructed or in a different way for the highest good of everyone involved. And that's really important. So I called in the guardian angel, and I just literally surrounded her in like a very sort of calming light blue white energy, and that was it. That's all I had to do, and it would have been enough for her just to feel it. She was clearly a sensitive person because she was connected to a mala, right? So just doing this and recognizing that there's someone else in need and trying to help them without anything coming back, right? I didn't need her to thank me, didn't need to do any of that. I just needed to help her in that moment. And that's what living in the fifth dimension is all about. It's getting out of this sense of self, always thinking about ourselves, and looking at, okay, who else around me needs help right now for free? Who else can I aid? It's like almost being those behind the scenes people. We're in an age where it's glorified, right? It's very much, even posts that you see on social media, I'm honored to be nominated as. Well, that's a passive aggressive way of saying, look at me, everyone, I've just got this award. Why say anything? So it's moving from this sense of self into what can I do for the greater good? Is there anything I can do to help someone else? Is there anything I can do to help the planet, the environment, the animals? Anything like that. Even if you see a sick animal on the side of the road, which is so common where I live, I can't always stop the car and I can't always get out and help the animal. I mean, I carry food in my car all the time for any animal. But what I can do is call in the guardian angels of that animal. And somehow the universe moves the pieces on the chessboard and they will mobilize help, because I can't help, but maybe someone else further down the road can help, right? It's very synchronistic in this way, and that's the magical side of working with energy and working with divine beings. It's really amazing if you can just wrap your head around it, or even not wrap your head around it, because we don't have to analyze it, we just have to feel it. So I just wanted to hop on and just give that really simple example of ways that we can be helping others, because our better world is not suddenly going to arrive. We have to create it. We have to, right? So if you want a kinder world to live in, you have to promote kindness. If you want a softer world to live in, you have to be soft. You have to start it. And then it will be like a domino effect, a ripple effect. You're kind to someone, it's very hard for someone to be nasty back to you, right? You're calm with someone, it's very hard for that person to be irritated. It's all about energy, and we are always in situations where we can help others, always. Every single thing that we do, there's always a situation, and it's so simple. We can't always stop and help and go out and do things, but there are beings out there, many, many beings around that we can't always see, that are ready to answer the call for help.